How to fix mouse movement micro-stuttering. Welcome back to Teknobalta. If you are experiencing micro-stuttering while playing games, especially when your system resources are barely being used, you are not alone. Our team recently analyzed a fascinating case where moving the mouse caused severe frame drops, even on highly capable hardware like the RX 6700 graphics card and Ryzen 5 5600X processor. CPU and GPU utilization remained completely stable under 30%, yet the game constantly stuttered during mouse movement, while keyboard inputs remained perfectly smooth. Today, we are sharing the definitive, step-by-step troubleshooting guide to completely eliminate mouse-induced micro-stuttering. During our testing, we discovered that extremely high mouse polling rates can heavily overwhelm the processor thread, handling the game's input logic. We strongly recommend accessing your dedicated mouse utility software and lowering the polling rate down to 125 Hz or 250 Hz. We confirmed that this specific adjustment instantly eliminates the stuttering issue in highly affected game engines. Sometimes the physical connection point contributes to hardware polling latency and processing bottlenecks. We found that unplugging your mouse and moving it to a completely different USB port can effectively reset the host controller configuration. We suggest prioritizing rear motherboard USB ports over front panel chassis connectors to secure the most stable input data delivery. Display drivers can occasionally create direct backend conflicts with peripheral polling cycles. We recommend using Display Driver Uninstaller to completely wipe your current graphics driver while in safe mode. After the wipe, install a slightly older, known-stable graphics driver version to bypass any recent bug introductions. Corrupted core engine files frequently cause specific input loops to fail and stutter violently. At Teknobalta, we advise opening your game launcher and executing the Verify Integrity of Game Files tool. This process thoroughly scans and replaces any broken input rendering libraries without requiring a massive total download. Certain game engines struggle with exclusive full-screen hooks when actively processing high-frequency raw mouse input. We recommend switching your game from full-screen to windowed mode, applying the setting, and then immediately switching back to full screen. This quick action forces the desktop window manager to successfully rebuild the display buffer. When simple file verification fails, a deep engine corruption might be the true root cause of the micro-stuttering. We confirmed that completely uninstalling the game and removing its leftover, temporary application data folders can clear corrupted configuration files. Downloading and installing a fresh copy ensures all structural input parameters are firmly set to their factory defaults. Thermal throttling can sometimes masquerade as input lag if the processor is forcefully downclocking precisely when you move the mouse. We advise opening your computer case and carefully cleaning out all accumulated dust from the main processor and graphics card heatsinks. Maintaining optimal thermals guarantees that your processor sustains maximum clock speeds during heavy peripheral polling. Windows features a built-in mouse acceleration setting that can heavily conflict with raw input methods, heavily utilized by modern games. Navigate to your classic Windows control panel, open the Mouse Properties menu, and navigate to the Pointer Options tab. We strongly recommend unchecking the Enhance Pointer Precision box to ensure perfectly raw, hardware-level motion tracking. Windows power management algorithms often attempt to save energy by briefly suspending USB ports, causing microscopic drops in peripheral connection. Open your Advanced Power Plan settings and locate the USB settings drop-down menu configuration. We advise changing the USB selective suspend setting to disabled to guarantee uninterrupted maximum power delivery to your mouse. The critical communication bridge between your mouse, the local USB controller, and the processor is entirely managed by your motherboard chipset. We recommend visiting your specific motherboard manufacturer's website and downloading the absolute latest chipset driver package. Installing this targeted update ensures the most efficient internal data routing protocols are actively running on your system. Running multiple peripheral hardware management tools simultaneously can cause severe polling collisions in the system background. During our technical testing, we verified that temporarily closing secondary applications controlling lighting or macros can instantly restore smooth performance. Keep only the single essential software suite required for your specific mouse active while gaming. The high-precision event timer can occasionally introduce excessive latency in operating system input handling algorithms. We suggest opening the Windows Device Manager, navigating to the System Devices tree, and locating the high-precision event timer module. Right-click and disable this specific device to let the operating system safely fall back to a more responsive internal clock. In-game software overlays constantly inject their own code, hooks into the rendering pipeline, which frequently interferes with mouse trajectory tracking. We recommend diving directly into the settings menus of your chat applications and game launchers to completely disable their respective overlay features. Removing these intrusive hooks provides the game engine with direct, unhindered access to your mouse input. Peripheral manufacturers frequently release onboard hardware firmware updates to patch critical tracking and micro-latency issues. Open your primary mouse software suite and manually check for any available firmware flashes for your exact peripheral model. We found that keeping the physical hardware internally updated is just as crucial as maintaining your operating system drivers. Sometimes an unoptimized game engine stubbornly forces all mouse input processing onto a single, heavily burdened processor core. You can open the Windows Task Manager, navigate to the Details tab, and right-click your active game executable to manually set processor affinity. Unchecking the first core logically forces the application to distribute its intensive workload across much freer processing threads. Background applications often utilize your graphics card to render their user interfaces, which can surprisingly steal crucial resources during fast mouse flicks. Navigate to the advanced hardware settings of your browser and chat applications to manually toggle off hardware acceleration. This remarkably simple change completely frees up your primary graphics processor to focus entirely on seamless game rendering. Windows Game Mode constantly attempts to allocate system resources dynamically, but it can occasionally misprioritize active peripheral drivers. We suggest typing Game Mode into the Windows taskbar search and testing your game with this specific feature actively toggled off. In our detailed analysis, various older game titles perform with significantly smoother frame delivery times when Game Mode is fully disabled. Malicious software, specifically designed for hidden background tasks, often throttles input threads to intentionally hide its processor activity. We strongly recommend running a comprehensive, deep system scan using a highly trusted system security solution. Eradicating silent background threats permanently guarantees that your processor has maximum bandwidth, strictly available for high-speed mouse polling. Don't forget to follow Teknobalta for more.